We're here for another edition of the Outlook series, and I'm your host, Mike Lippis.
Increasing agility and automation in the data center to optimize application delivery requires a complete end-to-end coordinated virtual infrastructure. This infrastructure will allow applications in the physical network to collaborate, thereby providing a high-quality experience for users and enabling optimization of resources. The ideal solution should follow a software-defined networking approach. This will allow it to bridge the gap between the network world and the newly virtualized compute world by defining a framework that uses standardized interfaces between applications and networks. Likewise, it should be flexible enough to leverage multiple methods, including OpenFlow, to provide direct access to all virtual and physical objects in the data center and enable manipulation of the forwarding plane of physical and virtual network devices, such as switches and routers. Now joining us to discuss software-defined networks is Karoom Kawarja. Karoom is the Director of Product Management for the Data Center Product Portfolio at Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. Karoom Kawarja, welcome to the Outlook series.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Now, Karoom, does one size fit all when adopting software-defined networking?
No, one size does not fit all. Software-defined networking as a technology has significant benefits to automate and improve application delivery in the enterprise when implemented properly. However, depending on the scale of the enterprise, specific business issues, and availability of IT resources, different adoption methods are required. What can be adopted in the web-scale companies with hundreds of custom development teams is not applicable for a mid-sized enterprise with a few dozen or 100 business applications and limited IT staff. So enterprises need to look beyond the buzzword of SDN and understand what and how the SDN technology can be implemented to solve the business problems. I would like to highlight that the closing panel at the recent ONS Summit also pointed this out. In the words of Pradeep Sen, Verizon's Director of Network Architecture, what SDN needs now most is customer success stories, large customer deployments, and not Google. Google's fantastic, but they are not the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. So how would you break out the enterprise landscape then?
So when thinking of enterprise networks, we often think about very large ones. We often think about web-scale companies and from there relate it to the typical and try to have a corollary with an average-sized enterprise. The reality is, when dissecting the enterprise market, we often see four main segments. Number one, web scale. This is a term coined by Gartner. This segment includes the Googles and Facebooks of the world. They are large cloud services firms that deliver extreme levels of service over a complicated infrastructure with an interface to public and private users. Their overall revenue is highly dependent on their IT infrastructure. Web-scale enterprises have the necessary resources available to them to invest in newer technologies. They also have dedicated groups available to research the impact of newer technologies and customize them to their specific business needs. They have the buying power to dictate hardware and software vendors special pricing options they desire. Second is XXL. These are large multinational enterprises with complicated WAN infrastructure. This segment is close to web scale, especially when looking at the large multinational financial enterprises, but typically does not quite have the same size as the web scale segment. A vast majority of XSLs do have the similar skill set and buying influence as a web scale enterprise. The third one is what we call it as medium-large. Medium-large enterprises is typically conservative in their approach to technology. Their primary business is not IT. While IT is a critical part of their business, it does not often receive the same attention as some of the other segments. They often struggle with human and capital investment in their IT departments. The fourth one is the small enterprise. Small enterprise IT needs are similar to the medium-large enterprises, but often require more simplified, out-of-the-box solutions as their IT resources are quite limited.
Mm-hmm. So, Karoom, what is the purpose of SDN then?
SDN by default is nothing unless it is enabled by an underlying infrastructure. The purpose of SDN is to hide the complexity of the infrastructure. In essence, it just works. The corollary is that of a modern car. The driver does not worry about the complicated engine and electronics under the hood. His only concern is to drive the car, but he always has the visibility into the car's vital stats at all times. SDN is an approach bridging the gap between the network world and the newly virtualized compute world by defining a framework that uses standardized interfaces between applications and networks.
Mm-hmm. So now, what is driving the adoption of SDN?
The early adoption of SDN has mostly been in the data center infrastructure and primarily related to the challenges of application virtualization. We have very flexible virtualized compute resources, but limited by a typically inflexible network infrastructure. The goal of SDN is to enable existing networks to become more adaptable to applications. More importantly, it can be used to bridge the gap between application control and the network control elements, thereby allowing a coordinated effort to optimize application delivery performance. It can also provide an evolutionary path to complete network programmability by application control platforms. In addition, it can provide the means to add application-level programmability to existing networks.
All right. Now, how do overlay technologies enable SDN?
Overlay technologies such as VXLAN, NVGRE enable enterprises to reuse the existing infrastructure without requiring an overhaul. Overlay technology started with the goal of quick configuration and the ability to achieve bridging domains across disparate network segments. The idea was to avoid massive layer 2 domains and enable the virtual machine mobility between data centers. The merit of the technology enables it to be used within a data center to scale higher and provide multi-tenancy.
Mm-hmm. All right, Karim, now how about OpenStack? Well, what is its role in SDN?
OpenStack is one of the SDN enabling technologies. OpenStack allows organizations to orchestrate compute, storage, networking, and other components for on-demand services such as infrastructure as a service. The OpenStack operating system allows organizations to shorten provisioning of new services from days and weeks down to a handful of minutes. The complexity of provisioning all the components required for the new services is hidden behind the software API extensions and plugins. Since OpenStack is based on plugin approach, therefore it does not need to run the control protocols by itself. It can integrate with any type of environment as long as the plugins are available and integrated within the workflow. OpenStack transforms the existing infrastructure into programmable workflow while providing the flexibility for future evolution without requiring a complete overhaul.
Alrighty. Now, how about OpenFlow? In what way does it map into SDN?
OpenFlow is one of the several mechanisms that can be used to enable control of the forwarding behavior of network nodes by external elements. It is certainly one of the potential building blocks that can be used to deliver SDN. It provides a basic mechanism to program flow entries in the network node from an external controller. But it should be noted that several other methods already exist to achieve the similar function. OpenFlow alone is not sufficient to realize SDN, but SDN can be realized without OpenFlow. OpenFlow is focused initially on the interaction between the network control plane and forwarding plane. It leaves northbound APIs to application control platforms for later versions. OpenFlow assumes all control capabilities are removed from network nodes without offering a sufficient scalability model for the newly proposed network architecture. Also, OpenFlow does not define mechanisms for interacting with existing control planes in today's network elements, a necessity for environments that must have backward compatibility with existing network infrastructure.
Right. Now, when it comes to incumbent virtualization vendors, could you differentiate the market leaders?
So virtualization is not a new topic for data centers. It has certainly gained more steam in the recent years. VMware is the leading virtualization vendor. They hold the largest share in the enterprise market. Microsoft has been gaining some ground, but is relatively a smaller vendor in the market. Other vendors such as Citrix also compete in this area. Initially, these solutions were focused on enterprises only. VMware, with the acquisition of Nicira, broadened the solution offering from enterprises to service providers and web-scale enterprises. The resulting product from the acquisition, NSX Controller, makes VMware solutions more attractive for a complete end-to-end solution. Microsoft has been making inroads within the enterprise market with better packaging and lower license fees. A tighter integration with their server operating system has enabled them to attract mid-sized enterprises.
Mhm. Now, Kurum, now with regard to incumbent hardware vendors, what is their role in SDN?
So hardware vendors have been monitoring the evolution of SDN solutions. Initially, the software vendors with their proprietary and vendor locking approaches hit hardware vendors hard. However, as hardware vendors began to understand the scope of SDN, they are paying more attention to the support of enabling technologies. They are playing the role of facilitator to enable the newer technologies and approaches while still keeping their value add. The argument that hardware vendors will soon be out of business is rarely voiced nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Hardware vendors will continue to play a role in the market. Their role may not be the same as in the past, but their software integration capabilities and ability to execute faster will help them to differentiate. A lot more focus will be on software enablement and integration with differentiating ingredients, providing complete visibility, high-speed interfaces, programmability, and application-focused capabilities.
Now, how do you view software-only approaches to software-defined networking?
So there are many new startups focused on software-only solutions. These vendors have energized the industry with innovation and newer capabilities. Due to these vendors, the established hardware and software vendors have started to be more open and have spurred their own innovation to continue to be the leaders. This has transitioned the industry into exciting times. As much as software-only approaches are not only new and slick, there are few issues with these solutions. One, the target market for most of these vendors is high-end enterprise, including web scale and XSL. Two, as much as software is a key asset, it does need an accompanying hardware to make it more valuable. Three, most of the software-only vendors are startups. The financial feasibility to survive for a longer period of time is yet to be seen. Then finally, the hardware vendors with deep pockets have acquired software-only vendors. Hardware vendors are integrating their software with their hardware to make it a complete package of hardware and software.
Mm-hmm. So, what is your take on ODM hardware from a manufacturer going directly to the enterprise?
This is one of the most interesting arguments used by some of the SDN proponents. It is worthwhile to examine them as two separate initiatives. ODM hardware from a manufacturer goes directly to the enterprise used to be the early stance of SDN proponents. They used to use Google as the poster child for this argument. However, there are multiple challenges associated with this argument from an enterprise perspective. Challenge 1. ODMs require large volumes to be cost effective. Service providers, web scale, and a small subset of XXL enterprises do have the volume to justify a direct interaction with ODMs. ODMs can provide them the bare metal hardware with limited capability of serviceability. Challenge 2. ODM hardware does not mean that software is integrated. Software development and testing is the investment required by the enterprises to make it a usable component. Without quality software integration and serviceability, the ODM hardware does not fit the bill for majority of the enterprises. Again, only a small segment of enterprises like service provider, web scale, and XXL have the capability to make such investments. A new initiative taken by Dell recently is an interesting approach to mitigate some of these issues highlighted in Challenge 2. This does indicate that there may be a hybrid model which can coexist and may require the hardware vendors to relook at their strategy. However, it is too early to reach an opinion as Dell's strength has been supply chain. So could this be an indicative of the shift in their infrastructure strategy, moving from a traditional vendor to a hardware-only model? Only time will tell. Mm-hmm. In either case, traditional networking vendors like Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise will need to continue to innovate to show value over these off-the-shelf type solutions. Things like our application point networking approach around delivering end-to-end quality of service with application fingerprinting, deep packet inspection, and other capabilities that can help solve the real-world issues in the enterprise go beyond what some of these hardware off-the-shelf solutions can deliver.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you help the Outlook Series audience understand the relevance of SDN?
Excluding the service providers, web scale, and financial sector of the XXL enterprises, the rest of the enterprise world is also intrigued by SDN. Enterprises are starting to learn about the various approaches of SDN and trying to relate it to their mode of operation and understand how SDN can address some of the business issues they have. However, the scale and depth of SDN solutions being discussed by the technology world oftentimes has not helped enterprises to understand the relevance of SDN to their environments. The factors include 1. The solution scale and requirements is not as large as normally discussed by the technology world. 2. Often there is a lack of demarcation between data center and core access infrastructure. 3. SDN use cases are not relevant to their problems. 4. There is a steep learning curve for relatively small IT teams. 5. Investment available in most enterprises are not nearly as large as web-scale enterprises. 6. Unclear how this relates to their in-house or public cloud strategy, or what cloud strategy they should adopt. Enterprises need to understand the features of something so they can align those features with benefits to make a business case. They need real use cases, which can help them in resolving their day-to-day problems. They need SDN solutions to help them solve problems instead of inventing one, which they never had to begin with. And they need these solutions to be very much out of the box, not needing teams of IT resources to implement a new mode of operation when only trying to solve a specific problem like virtualization automation. Relevance to enterprises is key. The most popular form of SDN deployments aren't particularly applicable to the typical enterprises.
Now, how would you characterize the solution scale and requirements of small and mid to large size enterprises?
Small and mid to large enterprises have relatively small data center infrastructure with a major portion of their network comprising of campus LAN. Some of their requirements, among others, include physical servers in the data centers range from a few to thousands. A small number of top-of-the-rack switches satisfy their need. Number of active virtual machines range from a few hundred to few thousands. The number of available VLANs is not an issue for their scalability and segmentation. Multi-tenancy is not a major factor in their infrastructure. They can achieve it using the existing technologies like the VRFs. Virtual machine mobility is provisioned, but it is not very highly used. The availability of the layer 2 infrastructures is typically used to provide this capability. They feel comfortable with the traditional technologies for layer 2 multipath. Therefore, reliance has been on a simplified spine and leaf architecture with virtual systems.
Now, what impact are enterprises having on the different types of SDN vendors?
So one thing is for sure that SDN is real. It is here to stay and to be used. The shape and form factor of SDN deployments in enterprises will vary significantly from the small to higher-end enterprises. Enterprises need a solution with a holistic approach, an approach which encompasses the campus LAN and the data center infrastructure as a part of their solution. Enterprises are in the early stages of understanding SDN and its relevance to their target business challenges. They need real use cases which can help them understand the merit of technology to evaluate adoption. Let's examine typical vendors in enterprise. Virtualization vendors. With VMware's focus continuing to be enterprises, they will continue to be the major vendor for virtualization. Enterprises will continue to depend on VMware, with Microsoft and Citrix acting as the second option. Hardware vendor. Enterprises have relied on established hardware vendors to provide them a quality solution with serviceability. Their reliance on hardware vendors will continue to evolve. However, the demand to support the adjacent solutions like virtualization, unified access, and tie into orchestration solutions will continue to become stronger. Enterprise will look to these major vendors to provide the thought leadership in providing solutions. Hardware vendors are in a strong position to provide them ready-to-use, plug-and-play solutions. Software-only vendors and ODMs will likely continue to focus on web-scale and XXL enterprises. It will require a major shift for them to become relevant to the mainstream enterprises in terms of not only CapEx and OpEx, but also for pre-post sales support, together with continued path for hardware and software evolution.
Now, is Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise taking an open approach to integrate with industry initiatives?
Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise has always been a proponent of open approach with standards-based implementation. This provides our customers the greatest value in terms of interoperability and evolution with ongoing evolution in the industry. In the first half of 2013, Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise released REST APIs with complete parity to the command line interface, enabling programmatic interfaces. Support of OpenFlow 1.0 and 1.3 was made available in the second half of 2013 on OmniSwitch 6900. This is being extended to all the platforms in 2014. Our implementation of OpenFlow provides interoperability with well-known industry OpenFlow controllers, including Floodlight Controller and NEC. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise also participated in the OpenFlow Plugfest in Q4 13 to ensure interoperability with different vendors and adherence to compliance. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise has also released an OpenStack Neutron plugin for the data center product portfolio to not only allow the basic functions to be orchestrated, but also add value-add features such as virtual network profile for automated provisioning of the VMs. This enables enterprises looking into OpenStack to continue to be at the cutting edge of technology with an orchestrated system without compromising on features, functionality, and quality.
Now, has Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise done anything to hide SDN complexities to make it more plug and play?
So Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise announced its application fluent network strategy in 2010. Since the announcement, Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise has been working on implementing application fluent network strategy across all the solutions, that is campus LAN and data center. Simplification of deployment and operation is at the heart of this strategy. Both solutions enable network profiling for user devices and virtual machines automatically with profiling capabilities to provide automated provisioning, quality of service, priority, and security. Alcatel-Lucent's data center solution provides automated virtual machine mobility with out-of-the-box integration with VMware's vCenter and Citrix Zen Server. The solution also provides visibility into virtual machine network path performance metrics in real time. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise solution provides zero-touch auto-provisioning capabilities for all the products. Auto-fabric creation with unified management enables a real plug-and-play network. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise portfolio supports the traditional open source implementation together with hybrid and API mode. Hybrid mode allows the switches to run OpenFlow and regular Ethernet switching protocols simultaneously. API mode is an Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise innovation which allows the switch to operate in normal Ethernet mode but extends the complete QoS capabilities to an external controller. The controller can take actions on specific flows and/or applications, overriding the Ethernet protocols. This enables the enterprises to continue operating in their comfort zone but still be able to evaluate the emerging technologies while minimizing their risks.
Okay, now, is Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise offering a scalable solution that can map to the operational and financial goals of an enterprise?
Yes, Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise offers campus LAN and data center solutions that spans end-to-end network infrastructure for enterprises from LAN, WLAN, WAN, access, core in, and data center. Our data center solution was the winner of Interop Best of Show in 2011. We provide a scalable solution that starts from less than 100 ports and scale to thousands of ports. The solution allows small, medium, large, XXL customers to scale to the requirements to fulfill their needs. Pay-as-you-go approach allows enterprises to start small and scale higher with time as their requirement increases. Support of unified management, OpenFlow at no additional cost, programmatic interfaces, network profiling, application fingerprinting, fiber channel and fiber channel over Ethernet, among other features, make the solution unique and relevant to all sizes of enterprises. Similarly, our campus LAN solution provides multiple options for all sizes of enterprises with wired and wireless LAN and access switches.
Now, can you share a use case with the Outlook Series audience?
Sure. Instead of sharing one, I'll share two. The first one is the Wi-Fi optimization and the second one is the distributed denial of service.
Okay.
With Wi-Fi optimization, this use case demonstrates the applicability of SDN in campus NAN. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise and our partner Aruba Networks have been working together to provide a solution to optimize Wi-Fi traffic using OpenFlow. We demonstrated this use case at Interop Las Vegas in 2013. Sticky and long-lived flows like AirPlay are processed by the WLAN controller even though the two endpoints may be physically right next to each other. Let's say Apple TV physically connected with a cable and an iPad with a Wi-Fi connection want to communicate to each other. WLAN controllers are typically located in a central location, so the traffic has to traverse through the network in order to get switched. This may result in delays as well as oversubscription of the network link. Once the WLAN controller detects an AirPlay session, it sends a trigger to an OpenFlow controller for shortest and most feasible path configuration. WLAN controller also configures the AP to send native Ethernet frames instead of encryption. OpenFlow controller configures the network for the AirPlay sessions bypassing the WLAN controller for data path. Control path continues to be forwarded to the controller. This provides the shortest and the most optimal path, minimizing the delay and unnecessary oversubscription of the network links. Once the AirPlay session ends, the network configurations are reverted back. This mode uses Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise OpenFlow API mode, providing the best-of-breed solution and a real enterprise relevant use case. The second one I want to highlight is the distributed denial of service attack. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise and Inmon have been working together on trying to identify and solve real-life use cases for a typical size enterprise. This use case is available publicly at sflow.org. Jointly, we work to identify the use cases including distributed denial of service attack detection and mitigation. This can be achieved by the OpenFlow API or REST API mode. Network infrastructure is configured to send sflow to an Inmon sflow collector. Once an attack is detected, sflow collectors send a message to the OpenFlow controller or can use the REST APIs. In both scenarios, based on the type of the attack, multiple actions can be taken automatically, including isolation of the source and or rate limit of the offending flow or source. This workflow can be completely automated with complete visibility and tracking available to the administrator. Both of these use cases demonstrate the capabilities of SDN relevant to a typical size enterprise. These are real use cases and enterprises can use them on a daily basis.
All right, Garb, would you like to add anything else to our discussion before we wrap up for today?
Sure. So it's important to highlight that Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise caters to the enterprise market and focuses on solving the real-world problems for a typical size enterprise. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise has demonstrated real use cases to help enterprises in adoption of SDN solutions. These use cases include solving the real-life problems and issues faced by them on a daily basis, providing an open approach to integrate with various industry initiatives, hiding the complexities to make it plug and play to reduce the overall IT overhead, a scalable solution that can map to the operational and financial goals of an enterprise, serviceability backed by a global organization. Enterprise market is facing challenges with this revolution of SDN. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise can help them understand and provide the leadership to take the leap forward.
All right, Karim. Now, where can our audience get more information about the Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise SDN solutions that are available?
So the audience can find more information at our website, which is enterprise.alcatel-lucent.com. They can also follow our Twitter handle at ALU Enterprise, one word. And they can also follow me on Twitter, which is at KKHAWAJA.
Great. Well, hey, Karim, I appreciate you joining us today and wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors there at Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your time.
Thanks for joining us today, and be sure to log on to the Outlook Series site for your business and technology news.